Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video, I actually want to talk about new product development strategy. And I really wanted to talk about the importance of users. So this is part of my Strategy Saturday series. I'm actually a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And this is something that's really important. We might talk about new product development strategy in terms of what a company can do, but I really want to talk about the importance of users and what the users can do. And this is where actually the latest research in this area is moving towards. So what do we normally think of with product development strategy? Well, we usually think of new product development strategy as coming up with the different resources and commitments that allow a manager, and coming up with particular actions that allow a manager to develop a new product. And we often think of, or the way that a lot of people think of new product development, it's a very linear process, right? So you do A, B, C, D, and then you're done. However, and what we're sort of realizing, especially in the last 10 years, is that this is not really the case. There is a lot of messiness that goes on with new product development. And one of the things is you can do A, B, C, D and done, and then put it out in the product market, and you realize that it doesn't really fit with what the user wants. It's not really sort of jiving, and there's not really a demand for what they really need, right? Or what you produce. So you have to often iterate a lot. And so there's actually been a push towards a discussion of a sort of trial and error process between users and the firm itself. And what we're discovering, what we're realizing, is that users have a tremendous amount of influence. They actually come up with a lot of really cool ideas, and they're very, very helpful. And in fact, what we've been sort of puzzling over, and I think is an important question, is why do users actually help out companies, right? You know, what sort of incentivizes them, what motivates them to actually help out companies to do what they do and to sort of provide sort of free advice, right, to companies. It's kind of a strange thing, but it's an important thing. So anyways, the new product development strategy, we often think of the way that it's moving now. New product development strategy is towards a user-centric view, where often what might happen, so this is the way that I would sort of suggest to go, and this is the way that's probably becoming a little bit more of the standard approach, is first of all, you come up with a particular idea, right? So you are normally the user, often the case. It's not that you're going to develop something that is going to be completely outside of what you do. That's strange to do that. But normally it is somebody that's already kind of knows this particular area, because they're able to find the problem, right? Because they can identify what the problem is, and then you can come up with a solution. So you come up with a problem, you identify a little solution, and then you just simply go ask people, what do you think of this? Is this a good idea? Is this something that's interesting? You don't really have to invest very much in this stage. And then what you might want to do is do a rough prototype of some sort, just a really simple prototype, however it is, and then see if it works, right? So often you might do something that is very mechanical and requires a lot of work, and then you test it in the market, right? You test it in the product market, see what happens, see if people actually like what you're doing. And then after that, you get some feedback. You go and do another iteration. You develop it a little bit more, and then you get more feedback from the users. And feedback is, there's one or two types, right? So one of them might be they might explicitly tell you one way or the other. And sometimes it's useful, because if they're explicitly telling you one thing, it's often the case that's actually good advice, but sometimes it's not very good advice, because the users don't often know what they really need, and they can't sometimes see some of the stuff that they really need. But there's another way to get feedback, as just seeing how they behave. And a lot of people are moving that way. A lot of software companies, for example, are moving that way, just seeing how they behave with this particular product. And if it's not sort of jiving with the market, then you go and iterate again, and you see if you can make it jive with the market. Maybe that there is some language, or you haven't sort of laid out the instructions very well, and then you iterate The instructions aren't laid out in a very sort of easy to use fashion. You have to go and change the instructions so that people can actually understand what they're supposed to do, or change the design of it so that people can do the thing that they're supposed to do. And you continuously iterate and really it's more of a gradual process of continuous improvement over time, where you're getting a little bit higher and a little bit higher in terms of the performance of the particular product until it fits the product market better, until it actually sells, right? So what do you actually need if you're going to do this product development strategy or do this product development, new product development process, is you really need to go slow and get feedback and sort of reduce. Don't sort of jump into something. That's the really nice thing with this particular perspective, is it really de-emphasizes this fact of this sort of thing of go out and get a ton of money or use a ton of your money and develop something and see if it works. Well, that's kind of not really all that useful. What you want to do is go pretty slow and iterate based on what the feedback is until it's actually growing. And you want to, at the moment when it starts really growing and it's like growing like gangbusters, that's when you can consider actually getting some money, some external funding to boost it even more and, get some marketing efforts and stuff like that, or get some people that are going to work on the design even more. So that's the cool thing. It sort of contains the amount of spend that's going to happen on that particular product. People are getting really smart with that. The other thing that you should really consider is you really need a lot of Slack resources to develop something like this. So the whole reciprocity project, I'm learning, and you really realize that it does take a lot of effort and a lot of time before you actually build something that's useful. So initially, I sort of did the other way that I suggest is you develop this thing. I did test it a fair bit, but I didn't test it. This is part of the whole testing process, and I didn't sort of do. What I should have done is gone a lot smaller and just did like a little simple web page and did something really small and sort of iterate from there. But you need to get to a point. So there's kind of sticky moments where you have to invest a little bit more than you probably should because you just need to develop something, right? So it's useful. So you want to develop the bare minimum and then kind of iterate from there. So there was a moment where I probably invested too much. But now I'm continuously iterating now that I actually have this sort of usable product, and you can continuously iterate and see if you can make it better, right, for the users. The other, so you need Slack resources. That's an important thing. So Slack resources, extra money, extra time, and just realizing it's going to take, if you think it's going to take a year before it actually works, it's going to probably take you 5. And unless you're extremely lucky, and sometimes that happens, right? Like the opportunity is just there and it grows. You see that a fair bit. The third thing that you do need with this particular thing, and a lot of people don't talk about this as much. We used to talk about this years ago. In the early 80s, there was some sort of academic research in this area, but you really need the right users and the right audience to pay attention to what you're doing. And until you figure out what that right audience is, you're liable to get sort of incorrect feedback from people. So my whole project is definitely moving towards, helping out different graduate students that are going to particularly business schools. That's a key thing. But it doesn't have to be, and it could be sort of small business as well, or sort of medium-sized business. But I realize that that's probably a better audience to start with, is these people that are interested in going to graduate school, and sort of developing this to fit what they are doing, right? Rather than sort of this broad audience. It's just because you're just, the feedback is not all that good. Until I get, the right audience, right? And then finally, you have to relentlessly keep pushing forward. It's really tough because the product that you develop is not going to work like you thought it would at the beginning. You have to continuously keep pushing forward. It's a really tough journey. And so you just have to keep pushing forward until it actually fits. And it's going to take you a lot longer. It's going to take you much more effort before it actually fits. And it does the thing that you wanted it to do. So that's all I wanted to talk about. That's the key thing with new product development strategy, is really focus on the users and get sort of user input. Make sure you have the right users. Make sure you sort of grow slowly or go slowly. And you keep pushing forward and you keep iterating and developing that particular thing and continuously do that over a period of time. So that's it. Have a good day, and hopefully you like this Strategy Saturday series. Make sure you do subscribe. I do put out stuff all the time about strategy, innovation, entrepreneurship, and going to graduate school. So that's it. Take care and have a good day. All right. Bye.